dang, I was just about to take a drink. That was almost really awkward. Hello, welcome to Showboys. It's Thursday night, so we got a podcast for you guys. My name's Mike. I'm here with the one and only Chad Wick the Third. We got rid of Nick.
He's gone.
So yeah, he's gone. Ugly Kid Joe Cross is here. What's up? Let's go. Biosib's here too. He says woot. I say welcome and thank you for being here with us, guys. We have a fun episode tonight, one that we haven't done in quite some time. Actually, when I was doing the Answer the Boys this morning, I looked. We haven't had a regular old What's Playing episode since episode 89, and we're on 114.
Wow.
It has been 25 episodes since we've done this.
That's way too long.
Yeah, that is an incredible amount of time. So we're going to be catching each other up on what we've been playing lately. Before we get into it, though, just want to say thank you to our top tier patrons, Tim B, and Yusuf H, and Joe C. You guys are awesome. All of our other patrons, you guys rock too. Thank you so much for supporting us. If you're interested, if you want to learn more about Patreon or what we have to offer, or how it all works, you can check out patreon.com/showboyspodcast. It's just a way that you can sign up to donate to Showboys monthly. And each tier, there's 4 different tiers with different price points. They all come with their own perks and rewards and benefits. So go check it out. Showboy or patreon.com/showboyspodcast. Before we get into the news, we got some news. But before we do, I feel really bad because as you saw flash up on the screen, last week we talked about Rings of Power with Nick and Dad the Captain and a friend of mine, Francesca. We dove into Rings of Power, compared it to the House of the Dragon. But I forgot to read our Answer the Boys reply, so I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. So, Joe, I'm so sorry I forgot. This is for you, my friend. He says, my wife and I really enjoyed watching this together, Rings of Power. I really liked the twists in the story and the depths of the characters. I thought that the scenery was so beautiful, it almost seemed like every rock/tree was handcrafted in some scenes. I refuse to compare this with House of the Dragon because they are 2 separate things, honestly. Yeah. Thank you. I agree with most of that. But like we got into at the end of the episode, the similarities between House of the Dragon and Rings of Power there's a lot more than you might think. But yeah, thank you. And I apologize. Please forgive me for forgetting to read your response. Yeah, man. How you doing, Chad?
I'm doing great, man. I am doing fantastic. Glad to be here. I got crazy hair. I got the anime hair going on. Need a haircut.
So bandana's back.
New bandana. New color bandana. Blue.
There we go.
In the blue.
Nice. Blue's my favorite color, so I approve.
Yeah. How are you?
Doing well. Actually, that's a lie. I'm not doing well. I'm actually quite triggered, and we'll get into it here shortly. But yeah, I just want to say also, you can't see him, but Dad the Cap is here. He's behind the scenes,
lurking in the shadows.
He's producing for us behind the scenes. He's throwing up the comments and all the images and the banners and everything you see on the screen. So thank you so much for being with us tonight, Dad. He actually had a procedure done on his clicking hand.
Oh no!
So the fact that he's even here and able to click, he sent me a picture of his hand, and it looks like, I don't know. I mean, like basically his index and middle finger look like corn dogs. Like, I don't know how he's operating this mouse right now, but thank you, sir, for being here. It's much appreciated. But yeah, we got some news. Why don't you? Stunning bandana, says Joe. I agree. But yeah, you have an interesting news article. I saw the image that Dad put together here for us, and I'm excited to learn more about this. So
yeah,
why don't you start us off, man?
Yeah, I am too. So BioWare came out earlier this week and finally started talking a little bit about the Mass Effect game they announced back in 2020, I think, December 2020. And we just got like a short little teaser. And this is the image from said teaser right here, which looks to be one of the mass relays from the first trilogy of games. I don't know. I don't think that I ever got too far into Mass Effect Andromeda to know if there were mass relays. I assume it's like a big part of the world. But this hints at a couple things. I'm not going to talk about what it hints at because I know that Mike has not completed 2 and 3 yet, and it would pretty much spoil the ending of 3 if I talked about it. But it's super exciting because they have been silent for like 2 years on this new Mass Effect game. So it's cool that we finally got a little snippet here of it's at least still coming. And I do have a quote which is from Mike Gamble, the project director on the next Mass Effect game. And he says, quote, "In nearly 15 years since the release of the first Mass Effect, the biggest reason we still love working on it is the warmth, dedication, and passion for this community. There are some of you who have been with us through everything. We've grown together. Not going to say that because it's a spoiler. We've laughed our faces off and we tried together. And those who are coming to us new, like Mike, Mass Effect, thanks, Legendary Edition, welcome. I promise that many years of fun, adventures, and characters you'll fall in love with are still ahead," end quote. So, yeah, it's exciting, man. I can't wait for this game because primarily I hated Mass Effect Andromeda for the most part. And I'm hoping that they got the message because I think it's pretty substantially hated by most of the fan base. So I'm hoping that, and it looks like they are getting that because I believe this is one of the characters from the original trilogy talking in this trailer. So good signs all around. Still no release date or anything, or even release window. So who knows how far this game is? But
looking at you, Eclipse.
Yeah, yeah. But you have plenty of time to
Yes,
to crank
man.
out 2 and 3.
I've been like feeling the itch to get back into. So Andromeda is like the fourth entry. I didn't know if it was like just like a side thing, how some series have, those in betweens or prequels or spin-offs. But
Yeah.
that is after 3 and counts as 4 technically.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of in between. I do believe that it takes place after the third game, but it is entirely new cast, entirely new galaxy, obviously Andromeda. So I think it's more of a spin-off. I don't know. It's just a soulless slog of a game. And it sucks because I think the graphics are phenomenal on some of the planets that you go to. And there's just not the deep story and choices that you had in the original trilogy. I don't know. It just doesn't feel right. It sucks because like some of the gameplay improvements were kind of fun. Graphics obviously were a huge step up from the original trilogy, but this looks like hopefully they're going to go back to that story with those characters. And the final game is kind of notorious for having 3 different endings, so I'll be curious to see which ending they take if they continue on that story.
Civ says Andromeda is like the woman Ghostbusters.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, really. Yeah. It's true.
Oh,
It's
that's
really
amazing.
true. And it sucks, man, because there's so many cool things in that game. It just like Nick and I said before, it's just soulless. Like there's just not a lot going on to keep you entertained outside of how it looks and plays.
Yeah. And it'll be exciting to see what they can do with today's technology with a Mass Effect game.
Right.
Which should get anyone excited. I mean, because the possibilities are endless. What's up, Amy? Thank you for being here with us. Hey, Dad, can you try to talk? Okay, never mind. My theory has been debunked. But yeah, I'm excited about this, and I don't know what it's been lately that's made me want to get back into Mass Effect. I've played and beat 1 in the Legendary Edition, so I still have 2 and 3 to go. But I think it's just like I heard, maybe it's Andor, really, just because that is a cool. I love that show. It's the best Star Wars series I've seen so far. But the theme, the intro to Andor, is very like synth wavy, and doesn't exactly sound like the menu music for Mass Effect, but it's got that same vibe, and I'm just like, Oh, I miss that menu music so much.
Yeah.
It was so good. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
you
"Oh,
need
I kinda
to.
wanna get back into that game now."
Yeah, you need to because, like, here, I really like the first game, but 2 and 3 are just substantially better in
Mhm.
in almost every fashion, and I think a lot of people hated 3. I loved 3. I don't know if it was because I got to it freaking 10 years later or whatever, but, I know it was, like, a hot topic when it first came out, the way that they ended it, but 2 and 3, dude, is, like, bounds above, the first game, so you'll love it if
Yeah,
you like the first one.
that's awesome. Yeah, my backlog is massive, and it makes me sad.
Yeah.
There's so many things that I wanna play.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for that. That's exciting. Um, I came with a obviously video game related news story for you guys. It kind of relates to one of the games in a roundabout way that I'm going to talk about tonight, but it's something that I thought was kind of interesting. So we got an article from GameRant.com, basically saying the Alan Wake remaster was a failure. Um, yeah, basically what came out of this article is the Alan Wake remastered game, along with Crossfire X, which was another project that Remedy was working on. This was the quote: "They did not generate royalties," which, as a business, probably not a great sign. Uh, but this document that they pulled that quote from also says that Alan Wake 2 and Codename Condor are the studio's main external development expenses still. And they Remedy has confirmed that their 5 projects, including those two, are in no danger of being canceled or put off because of the failure of, at least, like, revenue wise failure. I don't think like the game
Yeah, I
itself
thought the
was a
game was
failure.
fine. Yeah, I thought
It's
the game
just
was
it
great.
didn't make the money they were hoping it would make.
You have to assume that that was maybe not the plan to go with. I think it was maybe to drum up interest for the sequel that they were clearly
Yeah,
working
yeah.
on and they announced later. But yeah, I thought it was I don't know that I ever finished it, the remaster. I beat the original, but when I played the remaster, I don't think I ever finished it. I need to get back to it because I thought it was good. Like,
Yeah.
it's not Resident Evil 2 style remaster. It's not a remake. So
Mhm.
go into it with the expectations that it's just looks prettier and you'll be
Right.
happy.
Yeah, so the other 3 projects that are lumped in with that 5 project workload are the Max Payne 1 and 2 remakes. This Codename Condor game, which is a Control spinoff that it has some sort of like co-op
Yeah,
thing,
yeah,
which we know how you feel about anything
yeah,
multiplayer. A project called Vanguard, and of course Alan Wake 2. Vanguard is going to be a free-to-play shooter, and it's in a proof of concept stage, so it's still like way early on. But despite all this, the studio's revenue still grew like 6.8%, so it's not like all bad. So if you're a fan of Remedy or really looking forward to the Max Payne remakes, Alan Wake 2, or more Control stuff, like, I don't think there's anything really to worry about after seeing
yeah.
this. But still sad to see that they didn't quite make the money that they were looking for from this remaster. Because I know a lot of people sounded excited when it was released.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think this was the first time that it released, across platforms as well. I think it was an Xbox exclusive originally, so it is odd that it didn't make the money, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's understandable. It's an old game. It doesn't play really that great by today's standards either.
Mhm.
So, I think the game itself is probably the issue, not the remaster, you know what I mean? I think they
Yeah.
just maybe didn't focus on the right stuff in the remaster,
Yeah.
but
And funny story, which I've probably told on here before, but I bought Alan Wake on Steam for like $4, and then a month later, the remaster was announced and
yeah,
released, and I was very sad.
it happens to you a lot, doesn't it? It happened to you with Mass Effect too, right?
Yep. Well, thankfully, Mass Effect, I had Game Pass at the time, so I was playing it through Game Pass, and then the Legendary Edition came out, and I bought it for, like, I found a deal half off, so I paid $30 for it.
Oh, nice, yeah,
And
that's a
then, like,
steal.
2 weeks later, it came on Game Pass,
Oh, yeah, that yeah,
and then
yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, "Are you kidding me?"
But
yeah,
still, dude, $10 a game, like that's a freaking steal for those games. Those are
yeah.
long games too. They're not
And now
short.
I don't have Game Pass, so I still have my Mass Effect though.
Yeah.
You hate to, you definitely do hate to see it. You really do. Which, by the way, Dad, we should look into uploading our sound alerts from Twitch into StreamYard, because that would have been a great time for you hate to see it. But yeah, so that wraps up the news here. I like doing news at the beginning. I think this was a good decision to do. Yeah, so we're gonna move on to what we've been playing, and I'll start first. I say, like, we'll each do a game, and then we'll squeeze in some Answer the Boys replies so I don't forget, because apparently if I save it for the end, I always forget.
You always forget it. Yeah.
Let's not do that. But I'll go first, mainly because one of the games that I just beat and was streaming over on Showboys Twitch was Control. And if you've been listening to Showboys for any period of time, you might be like, wait a second, didn't you guys do a spoiler cast episode on Control a long time ago? And you would be totally correct. We did. But I didn't beat the game before we did that episode, which we talked about on there. It was a real bad job out of me. And after watching, I believe I was watching you stream Ghostwire Tokyo. There's we talked about this like a couple weeks ago. There's a certain part you're going through a building, looked very Control-like, and I was like, oh wow, that makes me want to play Control, because you even said while you're streaming, like, this reminds me of Control. And so I did. I decided to stream it because I have like some weird OCD like personality trait where if I start to stream a game, like, I must beat it. Like, I can't have an incomplete series on Twitch or YouTube.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, if I stream it, then I will beat it. I'll play it all the way through. But also, I made a pact with myself that every document, audio file, or video that I came across and picked up, I would read or listen to or watch. And I went out of my way to make sure that I found everything I can. I don't know if I found 100% of the pickups, but I
there's a lot.
did my best to search every room that I went through. And I read, watched, and listened to every single one on stream. And not only that, but when I tried to play through it for the podcast episode, I just focused on the main story to try to get it, through it for the episode. Yeah, exactly. Redacted. See, he gets it. He was there. Not only did I skip all the cool side missions, I didn't even beat the game. So I did a complete disservice to Control and to you. Not so much Nick, because he also didn't beat it, but to you. So this is my formal apology to Chad and Control. Sorry. But I think I did it justice here on the stream, because I went through every nook and cranny I could and really played everything I could for this game. And it was so much fun.
Yeah, man.
Like, the gameplay loop is really cool. Dad and I were joking around, like, the only thing that we kind of dislike is Jesse's run. Like, the run animation totally sucks. Like, it looks terrible.
I agree.
But besides that, like, the combat is really cool. We talked about on the spoiler cast, even though we didn't beat it, one thing that we loved was the sound design.
Oh, so good.
It's so good. And the way that the areas transition with the cool title cards that just pop up on the screen with that, like, like thudding percussion sound. It's just, it works so good. The story was fascinating and engaging, and it really drew me in. And like you said, Chad, this game really shines in all the side content.
Yes, yeah.
The side missions, the side bosses, like the refrigerator thing was hilarious,
dude, yeah.
and like the boss fight was crazy, and like the anchor boss fight when you're in going through the sectioned off corridor of all the clocks. That was like a hard, challenging fight, but man, yeah, it's just like the fact that I discovered the documents in game that link Control with Alan Wake, and
Yeah.
they talk about the events that happen in Alan Wake, connecting these two games into the same universe. So cool. The fact that the Federal Bureau of Control is basically the video game version of the SCP Foundation, which we've talked
Yep.
about before, and also we talked about that kind of in depth when Wendigoon was on the first time. So if you want to know more, you can obviously Google SCP Foundation, or you can go back to our first Wendigoon episode and listen. But like, yeah, basically the Bureau is the containment authority of all these like paranatural, weird, odd things in our world, and it's just the backstories that they came up with for all of these items and events and people were just like very in depth and super entertaining. I thought the Threshold Kid videos
Oh,
and
so
the
creepy. Yeah.
videos
Yeah.
could be analog horror videos, just their own outside of this game. You could just throw that on YouTube and it would be an engaging and entertaining series to watch.
Yeah.
The blend they had in the cutscenes and videos between like real footage and like game, like CGI, like game graphic footage, was really cool and unique. But yeah, I love this game. Like I fell in love with it and it was so good. And I think like it's been a week or two, so the actual details of the story, which I remember being very confusing on the spoiler cast, like made total sense to me when I beat it. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I actually understand the story.
Right.
But to explain it right now, like I think I would probably mess some things up because it's been like a week and a half or so.
Yeah.
But man, I was very happy that I played through this game.
Yeah, I'm glad you finally did too, man, because you did. I'll admit you did do it a disservice by rushing through it, and I didn't want you guys to do that. Like I would have preferred you just take your time with it, like you did this time, and read everything, because really 100% of the game is made better by all the background stuff. Some of the side quests are better than anything in the main story, and the world that they build with all the documents is just so you can find yourself in there reading for hours, and I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you look at just your reading, it's probably hours worth of reading stuff. So
yeah. So Civ says, wow, to Chad, when I convinced you to play it the first time, you hurt me, brother. Actually, yeah, the first time I watched Civ stream it, and that's what kind of got me interested the first time. And I don't know if that's how the idea for the spoiler cast came up or not. But yeah, Civ showed me Control, and then the rest is history. He also says, don't forget, Quantum Break is in the same universe too.
yeah,
Ooh.
I actually I tried to play that. I got it on PC, and I really need to get back to it. And it's really every time I play Control, because I've played it like 3 or 4 times now, I want to play that game because I've played Control obviously a bunch.
Mhm.
And I probably played a couple hours of it, but I think it runs really good on Steam Deck, and I think that might be a cool
Do
place
it.
to play it. So
It's
yeah, we'll
another
see.
game I watch Civ stream.
Yeah, it's
And
fun, dude.
he skipped all of the amazing cutscenes.
Oh
And I was
no.
like, Civ. But with all of that glowing praise that I've heaped upon Control, I am infuriated by Remedy.
Okay,
And
why?
I'll tell you why. This is one of the reasons why I'm not in a good mood tonight.
Okay.
I bought the Ultimate Edition somewhere on sale and have it on Steam. Apparently, not all Ultimate Editions are actually Ultimate Editions that include all the DLC and stuff. I have a version that is the Control Ultimate Edition that does not include the DLC for the game. And I spent time on Google doing research, and I'm not the only person that this has happened to.
Interesting.
What what also is infuriating. So like I think there was I don't know if it was like a bug in the Steam store or what, but somehow the standard edition got renamed to the Ultimate Edition. So they had like two versions of the Ultimate Edition. One was actually the standard game, and one was actually the one that included all the extra stuff.
Yeah. And I think I
But
know why.
what
Because the PS5 version that came out, I think, was called the Ultimate Edition. So when that
mm,
came out, there was probably the original Ultimate Edition, which was like the gold version of the game that
yeah,
came with everything, and then the actual Ultimate Edition that came out on the PS5 and was probably re-released on Steam as well for whatever
yeah.
reason. Interesting. That sucks.
The other thing that sucks is the DLC is not available to purchase on Steam.
What?
Remedy or Epic or 505, one of those three, made the decision to not allow the DLC to be sold on Steam. So you can only get the DLC through the Epic game launcher.
Oh, no.
And guess what?
You don't own the game
My
on there.
game
Yeah.
is on Steam.
Wow. Why? Just to
I don't
push
know.
the Epic Epic?
I literally have no idea.
Dude, that's
But
wild.
I read that you might be able to find versions of key codes on like humblebundle.com or something on sale for Steam sometimes. I thought I did that on a site I use called cdkeys.com. Like I emailed their support and I was like, hey, these versions you have on here, like would they work on Steam? I was told, yeah, of course. So I bought them. Luckily, it was like $7 total for both. They didn't work, and I requested a refund. I'm not sure. I'll keep you guys updated on the status of the actual refund, but
Oh, man, PC gaming, bro.
yeah, I
Tough.
mean, I don't want to tarnish the legacy of cdkeys.com. The legacy. I've used them before and had issues, and they've been fine with fixing the issue.
Fixing them, yeah.
So, but yeah, so that's one reason. I finished the game and I was like, oh yeah, the Ultimate Edition. Then I was like, why are none of the like how do I start these? Like I don't see any options like no quests or missions came up in game. Like I don't see any options in the menus to like start these or turn them
Yeah,
on or
in
whatever.
the base game, it's just a mission that pops up in the game. It's
Yeah.
not you don't have to activate it, you don't have to go into a different menu to go into it.
And when you're on the main menu of the game, the tiles for visit, buy the packs or whatever, click on those, go to Steam. It's like, oh, this is no longer available. And I'm
Oh,
just like,
man, that's
oh.
wild. That's wild.
So I was really looking forward to playing the DLC and continuing to stream that, but I can't.
But you
So
can't, yeah.
I'm furious. Well, not
Yeah,
really furious, but more just really sad.
yeah, I mean, I think the DLCs are okay. I didn't necessarily like the Foundation, DLC, I think it's called.
Mhm.
Whatever the first one is,
Yeah,
and
that was it.
it's primarily because it takes place in not the oldest house. It's like the canyons underneath it, or like the
Oh
tunnels
yeah,
underneath it. So it
the
just doesn't
Black
feel
Rock
right.
Quarry. Yeah.
Yeah. So it takes place all in there. But the second one, the Alan Wake one, is actually really good. I need to finish. I don't think I ever finished it, but it's got one of the most horrifying enemies, maybe in any game, and it's from Alan Wake. So yeah,
Oh,
it's
ho,
just cool, and
ho.
it's got that old house feel to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's another section that was kind of blocked off.
I think that's the beauty about Control too, is like its its world is so fascinating and it all takes place in a building.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
you're just maneuvering around a building.
yeah,
Granted, it's like some crazy like
yeah. Really crazy building.
like supernatural building that changes and teleports you to different realms and stuff, but like really if you think about it, it's just one big level.
Yeah, and I'm kind of bummed because I do want to hopefully see someday a sequel to that game. You
Mhm.
know, the oldest house and the sequel is the newest house or something, a different building to go through or whatever. But I can't hate it too much because everything that they're working on outside of the Control multiplayer spinoff,
It's
I
good.
really,
It's
really
good
want.
stuff.
I
Yeah.
really want. So I can't hate it too much. It's going to be if we do get a sequel to Control ever, it'll be freaking years from now, probably.
Yeah. But
So
it'll be cool to see if like Alan Wake 2 makes any references to the Bureau
yeah,
or anything,
yeah,
because
I'm sure it
they
will.
made
Yeah,
that connection. So like, let's continue it. That would be cool.
right.
But yeah, so that was the first one for me. Why don't you go ahead?
Yeah,
The
I'm
stage is yours,
since we're
friend.
talking about Control and the game that made you want to play Control is Ghostwire Tokyo. That's the game that I'm going to talk about first. And this is the game that we were texting earlier. I said that I don't know if I'm really into this game anymore.
Mm.
This is the game, unfortunately. I don't know, man. It has glimmers of brilliance to it, but it's just almost too repetitive. And if you watch the stream of it, there's just a lot of doing the same shit over and over and over and over and over with your finger guns. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest drawback for me is the gameplay just doesn't feel as fun as I was hoping that it would feel. It is fitting into my little kick right now, which is like an anime kick. And it's very anime. I mean, the game through and through, everything about it's very anime. It takes place in Tokyo, obviously. But it does have some horrifying moments. They're just so few and far between. And those horrifying moments are kind of so spread so thinly, and everything in between them is just kind of blah. You know what I mean? Like it's just doing the same, like go cleanse the Torii Gate, go cleanse the Torii Gate. How do I get on top of this building to cleanse another Torii Gate? And it might be the way that I'm playing it also. I haven't really been focusing on the main objective. And when I did the stream, I talked about how much I hate games that have any kind of fog of war over the map. So it's usually my first thing to do. Like Spider-Man has fog of war. The first thing I do is to go to all the towers in Spider-Man to fully unlock the map. I can't stand that. So that's what I was primarily focusing on this. I did do quite a few story missions, but I think I just need to get back to it and maybe just focus on the story and crank it out because I don't want to leave it unfinished. I don't think it deserves to be left unfinished. It's just like it's like a 6 for me right now. Like it's like not terrible. It's just not very good. And yeah, I don't know. I just feel like the world that they built was really, really cool. It's just they forgot to do everything else in the game. You know what I mean? Like the world's cool.
Yeah.
And the combat, the ideas that the combat is trying to do are cool. It's just not executed very, very good. It just doesn't feel good to play.
Yeah.
You know?
I will say, having watched you stream a few times, the world is very eerie, like and creepy, and those like tuxedoed, faceless
Slender Man,
yeah. I mean, it's hard for a game to like actually scare me, but those are very creepy looking.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
yeah.
oh, I would not like to see one of those like back here in the dark abyss,
Right.
like while I'm
Yeah.
streaming here.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think a lot of the enemies are horrifying. There was the last stream, there was like that like pumpkin head looking ghost thing. That thing was freaking horrifying. The enemy designs are cool. It's just I ended up actually in the stream turning the difficulty down, and not because the game was difficult by any stretch of the imagination. That the enemies are just absurdly bullet sponges. Like it's insane how many times you have to shoot these damn things to get them down. So I bumped it down to easy to remedy that, and I think the game feels a lot better because of it. Like I don't need to shoot this thing freaking 25 times to get it down now, you know?
Needlessly tanky is annoying.
Right. Yeah, it's so annoying. And you know, in the story missions that I did do, there's a lot of cool stuff, like the hospital, the first mission, going through the hospital. I love any horror stuff that has to do with the hospital. So, you know, Halloween 2 is like such a cool movie because it takes place in a hospital. I don't know. There's something horrifying about hospitals to me. So that was cool. And the subway mission down in the Tokyo subway was really cool. It's got a lot of cool ideas, but I really wish that I could turn KK's voice off. He's always talking to me in like the most backhanded asshole
Yeah.
way possible, you know?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like so annoying. It's literally like every 30 seconds, dude. He's saying something to me. It's like excessive.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll say your comment about hospitals being creepy. I think what makes the environment of Ghostwire so good at giving those creepy vibes, or a game like The Last of Us feeling like very unsettling, um, is places that are not meant to be vacant being
Yeah.
vacant.
Right.
And like this came up like around Halloween. I was like going to lock our front door and shut our porch light off, and looked outside and it was like super foggy. So I took a picture and posted it in Discord, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, do I live in Silent Hill now or something?" And then it started a conversation with like uh Civ then posted a picture because the next morning it was still super foggy, and he lives kind of out in the country. I don't like live in the city or anything, but I live in a neighborhood or not out in the country. And he posted a picture of it being super foggy, and he's like, "Man, I wish I would have took this when I first got up when it was still dark out because it looked real creepy." And then we were like talking about like which is more like scary, like a super foggy countryside, um, or a super foggy, like empty looking neighborhood or town or something. For me, it's always going to be like the town or the
Yeah, I
city, or
agree.
the hospital or the school, or like even a mall or a grocery store, something that is supposed to have people in it when it's uh unnecessarily empty.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just like, why? Something
Right.
clearly is not right right now. So
Yeah.
this automatically raises red flags. And then you just throw like a thick layer of fog over everything. Yeah, no,
Right. Yeah.
done.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I definitely would agree with you, and I think that's what, The Last of Us certainly does so well, is showing you those locations that should be populated that aren't populated.
Yeah, and man, and just not only is the last, we don't have to get into this because this could take up the entire rest of our podcast, but like not only does the world of The Last of Us unsettle you, but it's also like beautiful
Yeah, yeah.
because it's not just like empty, it's like nature has retaken it. So
Grown over, yeah.
there's a layer of beauty to that like creepiness. And then especially when you get later on and like the zoo animals are out roaming around, they're just like, "Oh my god, this is so cool." And
Yeah.
then you cry when the giraffe
With the
comes. And you're like,
giraffes, those damn giraffes, dude. Those damn giraffes.
yeah.
Yeah, I think we should. I mean, dude, we talk about The Last of Us so much on here. We should really do a spoiler cast, and I'm really itching to play the remaster of it.
Mm,
So, or remake as they're coining it. So,
yeah. We
uh,
haven't done a spoiler cast in a while,
we
so
haven't. Control might be the only one we've ever did. What? Right?
we did
Oh,
Uncharted
Uncharted
4, I
4.
think,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. Yep.
which was fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's talk about and answer the boys' reply here, and we'll go with BioCiv. He said, "Oh, good." Well, first off, of course, I asked what you guys have been playing. He says, "Oh goodness, I've been jumping around a lot recently. I've been playing Scorn, Metal Gear Solid 5,
Oh,
Phantom
dude, so
Pain,
excited. Yeah, so excited.
Manhunt, Need for Speed Heat, Cyberpunk, Sifu, he's back, XCOM 2." But now that my computer is functioning, it's all Valheim, baby. Oh, Resident Evil 5 with Mikey Clark and the Gangster Fun Band. Um, yeah, uh, that's a lot of games.
That's a hell of a lot of games, bro. I got 3 games I'm going through, but I think it's the 3 games that I'm going through is the reason I have 3 games I'm going through.
Yeah.
But, dude, I'm so excited, and I feel so bad because I was watching him stream Metal Gear the other day, and I asked him if it was his first time playing it, and then I got distracted and didn't hear his answer, so I got back in and asked him again, like, "Hey, sorry, I got distracted, didn't hear your answer. If you answered me, is this your first time playing it?" Fucking got distracted again and didn't hear what he said, so I have no idea if he's played this game
Hey
before, so
Civ, have you played have you played
yeah,
Metal Gear
answer
before?
me now while I'm attentive.
Uh yes. Yeah, that's a lot. Like I I also sorry, I have a thing.
Yeah,
I
what
gotta
is
talk
that?
about it. Okay, this is a hoodie string, the
Okay.
drawstring and the hoodie.
Okay.
I recently ripped this out because they annoy me, and any hooded shirt that I can take the drawstring out of, I do. Just because
Interesting.
they always, well, like I have 3 small kids and
They're always pulling
a
on them.
1-year-old
Yeah.
who always rips on it. So it's like one will be like this long, and then
Yeah.
the other side's like this long.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, screw it. I'm not fixing this for like the 15th time today, and I just rip it out.
Yeah.
But I forgot to throw it away, so it's on my desk. So I'm a fidgety person, so I always play with something while I'm talking. But my wife thinks it's weird that I take the drawstrings out.
I think it's a little odd. Yeah. I would agree with your wife on
Do
that.
you use? Do you ever pull your hood tight?
No, never. But I think it completes the look of the hoodie, to be honest with you. Now, let me preface this by saying that none of the hoodies that I own, you can take the drawstring out. They're all stitched in. So that
Yeah,
might be part of it.
that'd be difficult.
Yeah, that might be part of it. I do have some older ones that I think the drawstring just came out at some point, and I was like not about trying to put it back in. So,
Yeah,
but
that'd
no,
be
I don't
quite
go
the
out of my way
process
to
then.
take them.
Yeah. Well, let us know. Do you remove the drawstrings from your hoodies? I'm dying to know. Yeah, so I don't know how one can play so many games interchangeably.
Yeah, I can't, dude. Like you're pretty decently good at that though. Like you're usually playing a couple different games
I
around the same time.
I usually have a stream game and then a game I'm playing off stream. And it's either like my off stream games, I might have 2, one on PC and one on the Switch.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's it. But yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, I had talked to Bio about Cyberpunk because I'm thinking that Cyberpunk is going to be the next game I play after the final game I talk about today. Because it just seems like it's a good time to jump in, and I really was really excited for that game, but it just crashed and burned when it came out. Obviously, it was a train wreck, but it looks like now there's like an anime that just came out about it. It seems like a good time to jump into Cyberpunk.
Civ says, "Lol, yes, Chad. First time playing Phantom Pain."
Dude, I'm so excited.
There
for
you go. We
Such a
got
good
the
game.
answer.
Such a good game.
Yeah. I've heard from a few different people that Cyberpunk is actually pretty sweet.
Yeah, and
Apparently
I haven't played
all
it.
the stuff.
Yeah, that's what I hear. And it looks like, that the PS5 version's out now, stuff is fixed. There's like a 10-hour trial on PlayStation, so I can even try it before I end up buying it.
10 hours.
And
That's like
yeah.
the size of a
Yeah,
some games.
right. It might be 5 hours actually. I don't know. It's a trial of some sort. Most of them I think are 10 hours though, but I haven't played a shooter in forever, so it'd be cool to not my favorite genre by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just a cool world, cool looking game, and I want to play it. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear Civ's thoughts on Scorn. I know he was streaming Manhunt there for a while, and XCOM, I think he streamed a couple times, but kept like having issues with his computer, like he said in his comment, crashing and stuff. But it appears he has fixed his computer situation, and all day the last 2 days in Discord, just under his name, I just see in tiny text playing Valheim.
Yeah, I
literally all day.
Yeah, I think I saw him streaming it today, right?
It's one of those games, man, where like once the needle pierces the skin, you're doomed.
Yeah.
And you got to fight and claw your way out. And once you do, like you'll be good, and then one little thing will happen and you'll find yourself back in the world of Valheim, and then the cycle repeats itself. Joe says Civ is so amazing. His answer is exactly what he has been playing. So discreetly obvious.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, also like Civ said, that's another thing I'm playing currently. I have 2 games I'm streaming right now, which is crazy. But this one is Resident Evil 5, a co-stream with Civ, and it's only like Sunday nights when we can. And it's been really fun. We're like halfway through chapter 4, I think, so we're getting there to the back end of the game. It's been a lot of fun. I'm one of the rare people that loved Resident Evil 5 even when it came out, and it's still really fun today. And I think it's because both times I never played it solo. I played the entire thing with a friend. And it's a lot of fun like that. Plus, it's always fun to spam B or O and just annoy your co-op partner out with come on, Shiva. Pretty sure BioCiv has wanted to throw his computer
Yeah.
out his window a few times on stream, but that's okay. But yeah, so next I will talk about the other game that is current. Civ says, you just like punching boulders. That's right, I do. The other game that has triggered me to no end, specifically today, even more specifically right before we started the podcast, is a game called I Am Setsuna.
Oh, triggered you.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
And I'll tell you, we'll get there. I'll tell you. But first off, I want to say this game, me getting this game, was totally because of a joke. So we have a Dungeons and Dragons campaign that we stream every 3
yeah,
weeks.
and what's her
once a month
face's
or
name is
so.
Setsu. Yeah.
Yeah, so Peace Love Ames, who's hanging out in chat right now, her character in Dungeons and Dragons is named Setsuna. And about once a week, maybe once every other week, I'll peruse this amazing website called DekuDeals.com, which is a sale tracking website that I use to find great deals on Nintendo Switch games. Basically, it's just a price tracker, tells you when they're on sale and how long they're on sale for, or whatever. So I'll go on there, and I'm gaming on a budget these days, so I'll hardly buy a game if it's over $10. Never full price, just because, I got 3 kids and a house and all that stuff. So buying $70 games like every 2 weeks, not really an option. But I was like, oh, look at this game. It's called I Am Setsuna. Isn't that funny? And then Chad was like, that's an RPG Tokyo game. And I was like, I don't know if that means anything because I don't know anything about RPGs. But then I looked at the screenshots and the description and some of the reviews. It's scored pretty good on Metacritic. I think it's near 80, which is pretty good. Upper 70s, I think. So I was like, hey, what the heck? It's on sale. I'm not paying full price for it. I got a gift card that I won from an amazing streamer named Ugly Kid Joe Cross. I'll get this game. And then I was like, haha, check it out, Amy. I'm playing a game called I Am Setsuna. But I actually ended up liking it. It's kind of a pretty cool game, and it has a really cool story. So this is a 2016 RPG from Tokyo RPG Factory, and the story is as follows. Set in a snowbound world plagued by monsters, Endir becomes the guardian of Setsuna, a young woman journeying to the last lands as a sacrifice for pacifying the monsters. Even further, you learn, this is in the first 20 minutes of the game, so it's not a spoiler, unless you don't want to know anything about any of the game. Cover your ears, I guess. But you play as Endir, the main character, who is a masked assassin who is tasked with traveling to this small village to assassinate a young girl who ends up being Setsuna. And you learn right away that she is this sacrifice who's about to set off on her pilgrimage to the last lands to sacrifice her life in order to protect the world from the monsters that are getting all riled up lately. And instead of assassinating her, you end up not. And then you're like, I guess I'll help you. You're going to die anyways, right? So I don't have to be the one that kills you. I can at least walk you to your own death and then get the credit. So that's the main gist of the story. I won't go into too many details in case anyone wants to play it, because I think what carries this game is the story and not so much the gameplay. But I could be wrong, because this is not a typical genre that I would go out of my way to play. With that being said, it's a throwback to the 90s RPG style game. It's turn-based, but not like a rigid turn base. I don't know how to describe this because the first time I've played a game like this where each character has an attack meter that fills up, and you can only attack once your meter is filled up. But meters fill up at different paces, so speed is different between characters, and like you can attack sometimes twice before the enemy attacks, or vice versa. Or you can like wait to attack with one character until another character's gauge is full. So it's still turn based, but like I don't even know what you would call that. Do you know what that's actually called? Active turn battle. There you go. There you go. That makes sense because the bars are referenced as ATB gauges. Look at that.
Look at that.
I'm a giant noob. So the gameplay is okay. The combat is okay. I feel like it's not very intuitive for somebody like me who's kind of new to this genre of gaming. So I am bombarded with hundreds of items from looting things that serve no purpose other than to sell, that make these things called sprite mites, which are things basically that give your characters active and passive abilities. But the passive ability, there's just like so much that like I don't even pay attention to half of it, and it's still like blown through the game, not knowing anything other than like this weapon upgrades these stats, and I can get these sprite mites that give me these passive or active abilities, whatever. But there's like fluxes, and if another gauge fills up and you push X in the middle of your attack, then it gives a boost, and then it can have all these side effect boosts that aren't really like super fully explained and detailed or in detail in like an intuitive way. So like whatever, learn them if you want, but also don't, because you can blow through this game super easily without knowing anything other than the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Which is what I know. But I will say the music, I don't want to say like banging or slapping, because it's like melancholy and like kind of peaceful, like very piano heavy, but like very good. Like I would listen to the soundtrack in the background, maybe to like chill and relax too. But it's still like music's awesome. Graphically is pretty cool. You can kind of see in the background, like that's just kind of what it looks like. I wouldn't say it's groundbreaking, but it's kind of almost chibi like, but not fully. But yeah, the story is where this shines, and if you can get past some of the like childish dialogue, like the concepts there are engaging enough to keep you sucked in. And it explores some deep themes with some weight to it. Obviously, you're escorting a young girl to go sacrifice her life, and she's like excited about it.
Yeah.
So that in itself is pretty crazy. But yeah, just things like Setsuna's willingness and desire to be the sacrifice is interesting, and seeing that like play out is cool. There's another character called Night Ear, and he has like this struggle and realization that guilt from his past is like eating him away, and seeing him deal with that. There's a really cool playable part of the game where he does that, and it was really cool to see. There's a character called Kerr, whose race has like a very, very, very short lifespan unless they like drain their magic energy. And he has like a cool like realization on that whole aspect of his character. I won't say anything else because without spoiling anything, but yeah, the characters are cool. Of course, it's a party based game, so you like recruit characters along the way, and they all play a little different. So finding the right combination is fun. But what triggered me right?
Oh yeah.
So I've blown. Well, first off, the way that you turn it your resources that you loot into the sprite mites for abilities and stuff isn't like super clearly shown. Like it's told to
Okay.
you, but it's not like intuitive in the menus to like figure
Yeah.
it out, because like if you go to the obtain sprite mite menu, you can go to one and then like click on it and sell the ingredients to make it. Or you can just go to the sell option at that vendor, sell everything in your bag, then go back to the Sprite Mite menu, and they're all available to buy or to obtain.
Huh.
So
Okay.
I'm like, I'm afraid to sell anything in my inventory. This literally took me until I was like 2/3 of the way through the game to realize. So I've ran 2/3 of the game with like the bare minimum like base moves that every character has.
Oh
And
wow.
I'm still annihilating everything. So it's like
Really
not
interesting.
hard.
Okay.
It is not hard,
Yeah.
but we'll get to that. So like I finally figure out the sprite mite stuff, how to actually get rid of my loot to like make these abilities and figure out how to get them for all the characters, all that stuff. And now like the combat is fast and fun because the power fantasy has been met, right? And I'm just like one-shotting every encounter.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
very satisfying because like
Are there
I wasn't
difficulty settings?
maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
I if there
Okay.
was, I just put it on normal. Like I don't ever
Okay.
really change it. um but I wasn't dying before. It would just take a few rotations to kill everything because I wasn't
Right.
powerful.
Yeah.
But now I'm just like using these moves. They look cool and they're just annihilating everything. And my character's leveling up real fast because I'm getting through the combat real fast. And then I get to like one boss, and it takes me 45 minutes to kill this boss, like 7 encounters, because like I was telling Dad, the difficulty spike is like you're walking on the sidewalk and then you get to like the Empire State Building and then you look up and then like the boss fight is on the top of the Empire State Building. And you're like, "What? How did we get to this point?"
Yeah. That's a
Um
JRPG, bro. There's always
yeah,
a skill check in these games.
it was so uh rattling because I was just like, "Where did this come from?" So on top of that, like the save system is garbage and old school to where like there's only very few save points scattered across the game. But then I also realized that like you can't save from the menu inside towns, but like the old Final Fantasy games, you can walk on the overworld and then go into a town, and then it's like you're in the town and don't look like a giant walking across the map.
Gotcha.
Um,
Okay.
but if you're a giant walking across the overworld, you can go into the menu and save, which again took me like 2/3 of the way through the game. Probably just because I'm an idiot, but like the stuff isn't like very
It's not
clearly
right.
defined.
Yeah.
Um, which it just might be a genre thing that I'm not used to. Anyways, so that what made that first huge, massive difficulty spike even more unbearable was I would have to like replay everything from the last save point to get back to the boss
Oh yeah, that
before I
sucks. Yeah.
realized I can save like right
Save right
outside of the
before it.
encounter.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
finally beat it, and I'm trying like real hard today to like get through the and beat the game before the podcast tonight because I only had like 2 chapters left. I'm like, I can do that. It's not that bad. I didn't do it, by the way. I'm stuck on the boss for the second to last chapter. So I'm not even at like the final boss of the game. And I fought him for 45 minutes, maybe even close to an hour before the podcast, like right before, like leading right up to 10 minutes before the podcast started tonight. Again, another one where it's just like I blow all the way through the dungeon getting to this guy. Easy as cake. Get to this guy, and he's literally like impossible. And I've tried so many different party combinations, and like 3 or 4 of the like 10 times I've fought him, I've got him down to like a couple hundred health, and like just like 2 more attacks from 2 characters would win, and he just wipes me, and I like takes everything I can not to throw my switch across the room.
Yeah.
but, but yeah, I don't know. I'm obviously gonna beat it because I want to see the
Yeah,
story
you're right there.
through.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
man, yeah, triggered.
Yeah, that's cool. I really wanted to play this game. When this game came out, Square Enix was kind of in like a weird phase where they didn't want to make turn-based like what built them as a company, what built Square and Enix as companies. And Tokyo RPG Factory is literally made. I think they were literally made to kind of make games that were that kind of golden era 90s JRPG vibe going on. And this was the first one. And it
Mhm.
did really well. It sold really well. And it like, I remember reading articles that like Square Enix was like blown away that it did so well, even though their entire fan base had been asking for freaking decade for them to do games like this again. And they're like, oh, we didn't know you guys wanted this
What?
kind of stuff. Like what?
That's
But
hilarious.
yeah, I definitely do want to check this game out. It's probably gonna be a while till I ever play another JRPG, just because I've played like 3 or 4 in a row at this point.
Mhm.
I need something action or something totally different. But I do want to get to this eventually. It looks really cool. I thought does it have random encounters in it, or can you see the enemies?
You can see the enemies.
Okay, that's one of my biggest gripes with the 90s RPGs are the random encounters.
Yeah,
I can't stand that. And I get that it's there so that it paces the game well, so you're leveling up properly, but it's just annoying, you know? I don't know how else to say it.
yeah.
And it's probably just because 'cause I'm not used like, it's been, 20, 30 something years since I played games that were like that. So, if one comes out now, it just, like, annoys the crap out of me.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. I would say overall I like it.
Yeah,
I'm just like frustrated because the insane difficulty spikes like out of nowhere.
right.
um, and yeah. Anyways, that was my next one. So I'll hand it over to you, sir.
Yeah, so, the next game, even though I've talked about this game several times on the podcast so far, is Persona 3. And this has been a freaking long time coming for me, and I'm talking, like, 10 years of trying to play this game. And, the reason I bought a Steam Deck was for this game, because you can run emulators pretty smoothly on the Steam Deck, and I needed to play this game on a handheld. And I think Persona 3 came out in 2006, and then there was a re-release which is called Fez, and that's the one that I played on the Steam Deck. But there was a portable version of the game that came out on the PSP. But
Mm,
it changes so much of the core of the game that
mhm,
I just could not get into it. So instead of like 3D environments that you can explore, it's all static screens, like visual novel style stuff.
mm,
And that's like a huge thing for me in this game. Like Persona 4 is the first Persona 4 Golden for the Vita was the first Persona game that I played, and that was like a crucial part. That and the anime cutscenes, and those are the two things that are cut out of portable. And then Fez never released past the PS2, and playing Fez now is kind of difficult because you can't control your party, which in a JRPG is can be very freaking frustrating if the AI is not on point, right? And that was one of the draws for portable, was that was one of the changes. They took some stuff out and then they allowed you to control your party. But I made the decision that I was like, you know what? I want to play Fez because there's just so much more that I'm drawn to in Fez versus portable. So I literally bought a Steam Deck. I pre-ordered a Steam Deck to play this one game, bro. And I can't remember what I was playing at the time, but it just fizzled right the hell out when I got the Steam Deck, because it's literally, like I said, 10 years of building up to playing this game. And Persona 4 is what turned me into an anime fan. It's what got me into JRPGs in the modern times. And I had a buddy that I worked with that was super into Persona 3. He's like, Persona 3 is way better. You should play Persona 3. So it was always there, and I just couldn't play it. I couldn't get a way to
mhm.
play it. And I finally had downloaded the emulator. I actually installed an HD overhaul mod for the game. So it literally effectively remade the game, remastered the game for me. And I think I put like 89 hours into Fez. And I like it. I like it a lot. I think the story is much cooler.
That would have been tragic if you're like, I'm just not really feeling it.
Yeah. I mean, there's a
About
little bit of
90
that.
hours,
Yeah,
eh.
there is a little bit of that there, but I think the draw to it is that Persona 4 does have a dark story, but it's told in a more childish way. Like, you're obviously investigating grisly murders in Persona 4,
Mhm.
but it's told in a more lighthearted anime way. Whereas Persona 3 is really freaking dark and deals with like cults and all kinds of really dark stuff. But I think that the problem with Persona 3 for me is that the way that the game is set up is very different from 4, where 4 tells you its story primarily through the whole game. Like, you're always getting story uh, stuff here and there.
Mhm.
Persona 3 only tells major story beats around full moon, so at the end of the month that you're playing. And the way that all the Persona games play up is you're a high school student, you're doing an entire year through most of these games. There's a couple that are shorter of a year, but you go day to day and do your stuff. So at the end of the month in Persona 3, that's when you get the story stuff. But that can feel like a really long freaking time in between story beats in an 89-hour RPG, you know?
Yeah.
So that on top of Tartarus, which is the main area that you're fighting in the game, which is a giant tower that you're investigating as part of the Seas team, which is a group of high school students that have persona abilities and are trying to figure out what the hell is going on with the dark hour, which is an hour after midnight. Okay, just stick with me. It's very Japanese, very anime. Just stick with it. So it's really cool because it almost has like a midnight club feel to it.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like a group of kids coming together at midnight to figure out what's going on. But Tartarus itself is like 200 and something levels, and that's all you're fighting in through the entire game. And I think that by the time you get to like floor 200, you're basically seeing the same shit over and over. Like, the colors on the levels change every like 10, 20 levels, but it just feels so fucking repetitive by the end, dude. It's just
Yeah.
like you're doing the same stuff. It's different enemies, different party members. So there's a lot to mix it up. But that being said, I mean, I loved it, dude. I was super excited to play this game, and I think it lived up to my hype. I think that you can definitely tell that this was the game that came before Persona 4, because there's a lot of quality of life stuff in Persona 4 that's not in this,
Hmm.
especially with the Persona Fusion stuff that they had going on, which is how you, combine different personas to make stronger personas. But yeah, it's cool, man. I liked it. I really couldn't put it down, to be honest with you. It was
Nice.
just a long time coming, and I'm glad that I played it. Unfortunately, now there's rumors that they're remaking this game with Persona 5's graphics, which kind of sucks. But I think I'll like that better now that I played the original, and then I can play like the remake or whatever's going
Mhm.
on, if it's even happening. They've been talking about that for years. So, and it was actually my pitch for game remasters on one of
Oh,
our
I
episodes.
do remember that.
Yeah.
Uh,
So go ahead.
Joe says, "Oh no, I'm excited to hear about some FPS."
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, how are those FPS there in
Yeah.
chat?
It ran at 60 FPS, which is absurd for a fucking PS2 game. But yeah, I don't know, dude. I got to be honest. There are moments in Persona 3 with that HD overhaul where it looks significantly better than the remake or remaster from Atlas on Persona 4.
Hmm.
So, yeah, super impressive. I thought it was the perfect way to play it, and I'd play it all over again if I could, and I probably
So
will at some
so you
point.
did beat it.
Did beat it, yeah. And
Nice.
it's funny that you're bringing up the battle that took you, and I think you were saying it was taking you 45 minutes because you were dying?
Mhm.
Okay, I had a
Well,
fight.
and like
Okay.
that was probably like 45 minutes between like 4 attempts. So it was just like one of those, like you were saying, bullet sponge, like that
Right.
boss like had a million HP, and
Yeah.
then I would waste 10, 15 minutes. Good night, love you. I would waste like 15 minutes fighting it and then die, have to start over.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's in every Persona game there's an enemy. Well, every one that I've played. I haven't played the first 3 Persona games. There's like 2 games that are Persona 2. I don't know if they're like re-releases or what, but in 3, 4, and 5, there is an enemy called the Reaper, and the Reaper is basically a level 99 enemy that haunts you through majority of the game. And if you stay, like, it's different in every game. I think Persona 4, you could find him like in a treasure chest, just randomly, and you can run away from the enemy. That you have no chance of beating him until you're way, way leveled up. In Persona 3, if you hang around on one of the levels of Tartarus for too long, he will show up.
Uh-oh.
And he's got like this super haunting. So he looks like a Reaper, and he's got chains over him, so you can hear the chains coming. So it's like this super haunting feeling that you get. But in Persona 3, I beat him, and it literally took me an hour and a half of not dying. Straight fighting. So it's the longest turn-based battle I've ever fought in my life.
Holy crap.
But man, what a high to be on when you finally get him down, because it's like such a freaking battle. And it's in I think I beat it in Persona 4 as well, but I have not in 5 yet. So it's just a cool enemy that's like, there's a couple characters that are in majority of these newer Persona games. The one that kind of gives you the ability to use personas, his name is Igor. He's in 3, 4, and 5. So yeah, it's yeah, dude, I think I'm just gonna stream 5 because I think you would love this, especially 5. Maybe not 3 and 4 because they're PS2 era games and they have their quirks to them. But I think that 3 and 4 are far more charming than 5 is. Like, it's got that charming PS2 era feeling.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, you haven't led me astray, so I'm sure I would love them. I have a bad taste in my mouth for Persona because of, man, I wish Nick was here, because it's because of a guy we used to work with.
Yeah.
Who was like way too into it. Like, he went and he went to a Hatsune Miku concert in New York, which is not a real person and was a hologram of J-pop, right? And like, he would just talk about how he couldn't, like, he just wished that he was like a high school teenager
Japanese,
in Japan.
yeah.
And I'm like, Ray, dude, I know you're like joking, but also like, I'm not sure if you're joking.
Yeah, I need to meet this guy, dude, because
dude, you'd probably love him because he's hilarious. He's like really funny.
Yeah.
But he was way too obsessed with Persona.
Yeah. I mean, the Japanese high school thing is a distinctly anime thing. Like, there are a lot of animes that have main characters that are high school students. And I know that it sounds like it would be extremely boring to play as a high school student in a video game, but the way that they do it, I assure you that it will probably become your favorite part of the game.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot. It's not like you're sitting in class listening to a lecture every day. You know what I mean? It's not. It doesn't make the school stuff boring,
Right.
and it's a big part of it. And a lot of the draw to the Persona games are all the side stories that are told as well. There's multiple different, especially in Persona 3, where it was the first iteration of this. They're called social links. So you have the ability to hang out with different people in the world, and they're all different, like, side stories. And some of them are awful, and some of them are really, really maybe even better than the main story of the game that you're playing. So, yeah, I think if you watch me play 5, like, 5 is ridiculously, insanely cool, dude. Like, you would love it. I almost guarantee you're gonna love the music. Everything about 5 is really cool.
Nice. I have put both of those, 4 and 5, on my wish list on Deku Deals. So the moment they go on sale on Switch, I will try to scoop one up. And I do like, there's this really awesome band, Anamanaguchi, who did the soundtrack for Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game. So I get down to some like J-pop stuff.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's funny because it's so odd, especially in 3 and 4. It's literally the same music all 100 hours, but by the end of that game, it doesn't get boring or you don't get sick of listening to it. It's so odd, dude. It's so odd. It's just
Nice.
that, yeah, it's that Japanese pop music that you just don't get sick of listening to. It's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
bizarre. Yeah.
So let's hit up and answer the boys here. This one's from Peace Love Ames, who I don't know if she's still hanging out in chat, but she has been throughout the episode here. But she says, I've been playing the 2018 God of War and trying to dodge the minefield of spoilers for the new one. I'm really excited to see how the combat system evolved and see how they progress that story, since it sounds like it should be finishing the arc with Ragnarok. Oh, and also The Sims 4, because why handle my own responsibilities when I can just make a tiny graphical human and take care of hers? Also, Bayonetta 3, waiting in the wings. I will say that I'm very glad that you're playing Civ's favorite game in the 2018 God of War. I watched him stream that a little bit, and I was like, man, I really want to play this game. But the whole time he was like, man, I really don't want to play this game.
It's so bizarre. Yeah. It's
Which was
odd.
really weird because it looks amazing. But it's just not up his alley, not his style. I can respect that. But yeah, obviously 2018 remake looks great. And I'll just talk about this now because I had it on my list. Not as something I'm actively playing, but maybe something I want to get into down the road. I stumbled upon one of the most fascinating YouTube channels like 2 weeks ago. And it's this guy named Gingy. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name. That's what it looks like, Gingy.
Yeah.
His link is in our episode description because you need to experience this YouTube channel. If you like video games and appreciate the narrative aspect of video games like we do here, you will fall in love with this YouTuber.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, this guy is so good. His videos, amazing. Every video of his that I've watched, I've immediately had like the burning passion to like play this game, whatever game he's talking about.
Yeah.
One of those, I watched a video, or I shouldn't say I watched the entire thing. I watched like half of it because it got up to the 2018 God of War, and I was like, I really want to play that. I don't want to spoil that one. I don't mind the other ones being spoiled, but I don't want to spoil this one. With that being said, I watched a video of his on the God of War series. He breaks down the entire story, starting at the beginning of God of War 1, goes through 2, 3, the spin-offs in between on PSP and Vita, and then, 2018, and then leading up to Ragnarok. After watching that, I'm like, all right, I got this cool new PlayStation 2 emulator on the PC. Chad helped me set it up after our last video game related episode where I talked about Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers, and Return of the King. I got this emulator because I was like, I really want to play those really bad right now. So I might go through later on down the road and play through the God of War series, just because it's one of the series I had skipped when it was out because I was like, it doesn't really seem that interesting. But after watching Gingy's video, I'm like, wow, this is super interesting. I must experience this for myself. So I'm glad, Amy, that you're streaming it, and maybe I will someday live vicariously through your stream. And your Sims 4 stream is hilarious, by the way. She's just out here being a home wrecker, like trying to get this dude who's married to be her girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever. If you're not following Peace Love Ames on YouTube or Twitch, you should, because she's a great streamer and hilarious. But that's what she says. That's literally what she said. And on that note, I'm going to go to my next game, which this one is the one on my list when we were texting earlier where I said, I have one of those games that I'm not feeling that much anymore, similar to you. And this one is called Underhero. And as you can tell by the image behind us, it is so vibrant and colorful, and I love it.
Yeah.
Like visually, this game looks awesome. It's a cool like retro side scroller type game. 2018 2D side scrolling RPG platformer, to be exact, from Paper Castle Games. And the story for this one goes as follows. It tells the story of a world in which the chosen hero has failed, and an underling of the main villain takes his place as the new hero, hence the name Under Hero. It's actually quite funny what happens here. Again, this happens within like the first 5 minutes of the game, so I'm not spoiling anything. But the way the hero dies, it's like completely an accident. Like something happens to where like a chandelier falls and it kills the hero and the underlings that are encountering him, except for you. Like you somehow were far enough away that you didn't get like killed by this. And so everyone in the main boss's like hideout is like, oh my gosh, you killed the hero, you're amazing. And you get promoted by the final boss. And
Okay.
it's like a funny game, but some of the humor is like stupid, like falls flat a little bit. But
Yeah.
there are some like pretty funny parts, and just the concept of the game in itself is kind of funny. Like you survived the hero being killed, and now you're like applauded as being the one who took him down, and have all this recognition and stuff, which is funny. The music in this game, again, great. This one is actually slapping, and it's kind of cool the way the combat works. You get like basically crits if you attack on beat with the music, so it's almost like a rhythm game too, which is interesting.
Okay.
But with that being said, I played this. Sorry, I have the hiccups. I'm fighting off the hiccups. I started playing this when I went on vacation back in September. And when I got back, I forget what game took its place, but I haven't really picked it up since. I was enjoying it while I was playing it, but it clearly didn't catch my attention enough to continue on. I'll revisit it sometime because it's not like a long game. And it's one of those like, I'm not a big platformer guy, but I will say one thing I've enjoyed about my recent gaming life is I'm diving into all these genres that like I've never been interested in before.
Right.
And games like this, yeah, they might not catch on and they kind of fall flat. But a game that I'll talk about in a few minutes, or you only have one more game left?
I have one, yeah.
Okay, so I'll just talk about it now since I have two more games left. Well, I have a couple. But I recently borrowed Ori and the Blind Forest from the library,
Yeah.
which is another platformer. It came out in 2015. It's a platform adventure Metroidvania from Moon Studios, and again, platformers not really my thing. Metroidvanias never really caught my attention, but this game is awesome. Like I love this game, and I was sad that I had to return it. Luckily, this is one of those games that goes on sale very, very
I'm sure.
frequently.
Yeah.
So I plan on picking this and its sequel, The Will of the Wisps, up when they go on sale again. But this game, you play as Ori, who is led by Cian. I don't know how to say that name, but you're tasked with recovering the light of the three main elements supporting the balance of Nibel, which is your world, which has been withered by a cataclysmic event, and these elements being waters, winds, and warmth. And it's like a very touching story. And the way they present the story to you, they're not really cutscenes. They're kind of like playable cutscenes, but really you're just like walking through them. But they won't progress if you don't walk far enough. Like if you stop walking, then the narrator will not move on in the story or whatever.
Gotcha.
But the narration is awesome. The art and visuals of this game these ones are breathtaking. Like it is another one of those games that really uses the contrast between dark colors and dark spaces with bright and vibrant colors. So things that need to pop really pop and are really colorful. And apparently, like, I have the attention span of like a gnat or something, but like bright, if you want to like suck me in, just give me something with a lot of bright colors and I'll
Right.
love it.
Yeah.
Like, but like visually, it's really cool. The gameplay, the platforming is really, really fun. Um, you're like, as you're leveling up and gaining new abilities and stuff, it all feels fun and natural, and the power creep, or I don't know what the power fantasy as you're like playing it, like it just feels really good and satisfying. But while the gameplay is like excellent and fun, again, the story is what makes this game shine. And I didn't get like maybe I got close to halfway through, but like it's just a good, like very touching story. And the guy that I'm recording the Chosen Companion series with, James, from the Nerdy Bible, this is like one of his favorite games. Like when I had it from the library, I was like, "Oh, hey, I'm playing this." He's like, "Dude, I absolutely love that game. It's so great. I play it a ton. Like, you need to finish it. It's
That's
amazing. The
great.
story is so good." So have you? I'm sure you've probably heard of this, but have you played it before?
No, I have not played it before. I definitely have heard of it. I've wanted to play it for a really long time, but I just never got around to it. I actually really love Metroidvanias, so it's odd that I haven't played this game. But yeah, you talking about it is making me want to play it more than I did before, and I already really wanted to. And I didn't know it was on the Switch, to be honest with you.
It is, yeah. I think this one released initially on the Switch, or was it the other way where it released on Xbox and ported to the Switch?
Um,
I don't remember, but it's
it definitely released on Xbox first. Yeah, is that what you were asking?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Dad says, our amazing producer, he says $5 on Steam right now.
Oh, nice. That'd be a good Steam Deck game.
Dude, no kidding. It would be perfect. Like, it
Yeah.
plays amazing on the Switch. Let's check it out. Let's verify here. Yeah, definitive edition, even $5.
Yeah, that's a steal.
And the sequel is still like 30. Metacritic 88. I would say it reviewed pretty well,
Yeah.
overwhelmingly positive out
Right.
of 41,000 reviews on Steam. Yeah, I would definitely recommend this game. It was very fun, and I really want to see where the story goes, because it really drew me in. Yeah, you want to talk about your last game, and then I'll wrap up with some final stuff.
Yeah, man. Yeah. My final game, surprise, surprise, is Persona 5.
What?
Persona train today.
What?
And yeah, man. So this game came out in 2016. It's one of the few games that I went to the midnight release for during that time. And I literally just could not get into this game on a console on the TV. I don't know what it was. It made me ridiculously motion sick. I don't know why. It's not a game that should make me motion
Is it
sick.
the
It's
FPS?
I don't know what it dude, I have no idea what it is, because it didn't happen this time on the Steam Deck. So I'm playing Persona 5 Royal, which is the re-release, has some new characters, new story moments, a whole new semester to play through. And dude, I'm loving it. Like this is like the pinnacle of what I think Persona can do. And I mean, there was a big gap between Persona 4 and Persona 5. Like 8 something years, I think. So it's just it's like putting all the best parts of the other Persona games along with the original Shin Megami Tensei series, which is what Persona is a spinoff of, and pushing it into this super stylized, over the top, super fun to play version of Persona, and I've been loving every minute of it. I literally I can't put it down. It's the first Persona game to take place in a real world location in Tokyo. And it's just so cool, dude. It just feels it's very it's the graphics in it are cell shaded, so it's just got a really charming look to it. It's got the
Yeah.
hecticness of Tokyo going on. Music is freaking amazing. It's got like an acid jazz soundtrack. It's freaking incredible. And some of the
Nice.
bigger things that they changed in this, combat-wise, it's just the combat is significantly quicker. Like, it is turn-based, but it almost doesn't feel turn-based because of how quick the combat is. The baton pass, which allows you to pass the baton to a different, character. Because the way that all these Persona games are is each one of your characters has a specific attack, and each one of the people that you're fighting has a weakness to one of the attacks. So having the ability to not have to go in order through your party is really a game changer. And it's cool that it allows you to power up every time you pass the baton as well. So your stamina goes up, your attack goes up. Sometime if you level up further, your SP, which is your magic points, go up every time you pass it.
Mhm.
And the cool thing about this is Persona 4 kind of did this originally where it wasn't like Tartarus and 3 where it was just the same shit over and over that you were fighting in the same locations with different colors. Persona 4 had set dungeons that you would go through, maybe 5, 6 of them. This is the same way, but these dungeons are over the freaking top, dude. And they're called palaces in this game. And the way that the story is built is you're a kid that lived in a smaller town and you got in some trouble, so you moved to Tokyo and you're taking under a guardian takes you in. So you're like the troubled kid that nobody really wants to talk to because you committed a crime and nobody really wants anything to do with you. And it's cool because I had talked to Mike, like I know that he's not drawn to the high school stuff, and in Persona 5 the high school stuff is at bare minimum. And it's cool because like in the original 3 and 4, those games, you could like join sports clubs, you can get elected to student council, you can go to art clubs, you can go to drama clubs, all kinds of stuff that have their own side stories. There's really none of that in this. And it's cool because nobody even wants to be in the same, they don't even want to be around you because you're a criminal. Like they don't trust you. And it starts off with a really freaking dark story, dude. Like it starts off with a really twisted story, and it's
Nice.
hands down the best story out of the Persona games that I've personally played so far, and I'm not even finished with it. And when I
Huh.
played Persona 5 originally in 2016, I got probably 90% of the way. I think I had like one dungeon left. And then when Royal released, I picked it back up and played 4 dungeons and then just fell off of it again. And I think it's so crucial for a game that's upwards of 20 hours that you have it on a handheld. I think that's why I couldn't get into it, because like you need that, like I'm gonna play it 5 minutes while I'm taking a shit. I'm gonna play 10 minutes before I fall asleep. So it's such a huge draw to me for
That's the
to have
best
those.
part of the Switch, man.
Right,
That's
right.
like
And this game is really, really prime for those quick 5-minute pickups. Like, I'm gonna go hang out with this dude, see what he's about, and
yeah.
then we'll be done for the night.
So it's only like 20 plus hours?
120.
Oh,
Yeah.
missed that first
Yeah,
digit
you
there.
missed that big you missed that big part. Yeah, I'm like, I think
Would
I'm on
you
the 5th palace out of 8 or 9, and I'm 70 hours of the way into the game. So I've
Oh,
got
dang.
quite a ways to go,
So
and
how does the gameplay work exactly? Because you keep saying dungeon. Is it
yeah.
like, do you walk around and go into these palaces, or is it like you have like dialogue and stuff and then you're like in a palace?
Yeah,
Does
so
that make any sense?
the way
What I
yeah,
just asked.
the way that it is set up is, let me tell the story of it a little bit first. So you eventually unlock the ability to use a persona, which is basically an adult Pokemon for all intents and purposes. And there's
Okay.
some really, really cool and odd designs of the personas in this game. Like there's a demon sitting on a toilet is one of the personas. Like it's just wacky ass shit. But the you come together with a group of guys to try to change the heart of a teacher who is sexually abusing students. And that's the darkness that I was talking about in the beginning. And you form a group called the Phantom Thieves, and you go into this metaverse, and into these palaces where you can. It's literally like the video game version of Inception. That's exactly what it is. You're going into people's minds to change their hearts,
Hmm.
and the way that the dungeons are set up is just over the top. Like there's a bunch of puzzles, really good puzzles. This is the first one that adds in a stealth element in the dungeons as well, so you can stealth around because you're a thief, obviously. And the basic loop of Persona is you have your life sim stuff and then your turn-based action fighting stuff.
Hmm.
Majority of the game, you are so 5 and 5 Royal are different. Yeah, they're different, but they're the 5 Royal just adds stuff to the original game. It's the same game. There's just a new semester, some new characters, a new dungeon, some slight gameplay tweaks. But outside of that, it's basically new locations in Tokyo to explore. But the basic loop is you go to school, you do your social stuff, and then at night you go into these palaces trying to change these people's hearts, and you get a different one every story beat. So you start off with the high school student or the high school teacher, and that's your kind of intro into the combat. And then it gets to progressively worse and worse people as you go through the different palaces. And it's got like I don't know, dude. It's just an addicting loop. Like I don't know how else to
That
say it.
sounds super interesting.
Yeah,
Like, I feel like this would be the one for me to play.
yeah, without question. Yeah, without question. And
Nice.
there's you know, I know that the high school stuff is the turn off for you. There's just not that much in this game with the high school, dude. You have like you go to school every day, but there's nothing to do in the school. And I think it's kind of weird that they took that out of here, but it makes sense thematically with your character. Nobody wants you to join any of the clubs because you're a shitbag and you did a crime. Now you find out that the crime that you committed is there's more to the story, obviously, right? So, yeah, the loop is go to school, hang out with your buddies as you level with your like each social link in this game. They're called confidants. In past games, you could level them up, but it just gave you the ability to get higher level personas when you would fuse personas. In this game, as you're leveling up these characters, you're getting a bunch of different abilities, you're getting increased to stats, you're getting all kinds of stuff. So, you have basically a deadline for each of the palaces. So you'll find a target, you'll be like, okay, we're going to change this dude's heart. We have 20 days to do it. And the way that I play the game, you really want to focus mostly on the social aspect stuff because that's where you get a lot of the more powerful abilities, more powerful persona. So I try to limit going into the palace to one day and just knock the entire palace out in one day. And some of these palaces are like a couple hours long. But if you're able to do that, you can leave the rest of your it's a time management thing.
Is it like real time one day?
What do you mean?
Like you say you leave it like you say you leave the palace for one day of your 20 allotted days, but
Yeah.
they take a couple hours. Like how long does a day in the game?
Yeah, so I mean, it's entirely dependent on you. There are certain things that move the day forward.
Mm.
So you get done with school, you have the ability to do a bunch of stuff. You can there's all kinds of shit in this game, dude. You can go level up social stats, you can hang out with confidants, you can go into it's basically like Tartarus in this game, and that's your area to kind of like grind if you feel the need to grind. There's really no need to grind in this game, but it's there if you want it. But if you hang out with a confidant, that moves it to the evening. So you start in the day after school. If you hang out with a confidant, you get that story segment, and then at the end of that, it's evening. And then you can choose how to spend your evening. Same thing, there's confidants at
I
night
see.
or whatever. If you go into a palace, that wipes anything out for the rest of the day. So you can't hang out with people when you get back. You can't do anything for that day. So that's why it's really important to kind of try to only do it on one day because you're locking yourself out of all the other stuff that you could be doing to level your character and your party up.
I see. That sounds really
So
cool.
it's specific moments that propel the day forward. It's not like a set time. Like you could literally spend 2 weeks exploring the world on a single day in the game. as
I
long as
see.
you
Yeah.
don't do anything to
Right.
propel it
Right.
forward.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Update. I just bought Ori and the Blind Forest Definitive Edition on Steam for $5. So
Nice.
you should do the same and play it on
I
your
really
Steam
should.
Deck.
I really should.
That's awesome. Yeah, this again, like I don't know if the high school stuff would really like be a bummer for me. I think it's literally just my experience with Ray being super over the top about wanting to be a Japanese high schooler.
Yeah.
That like made me have disdain towards this game.
I got to be honest with you though. This game probably wasn't even out yet when that was all happening, right?
Probably not.
And
I think 3 was like
3 and 4, yeah.
Or 4. Which one is Golden?
Golden is 4, yeah.
Okay, then it must have been that was just coming out.
Yeah. I assure you that I assure you if you play this game, you're gonna wish that at some point in your life you could have been a high school student in Japan because they just make it seem so freaking badass, dude.
That's hilarious. All right, so let's wrap up our last 2 Answer the Boys, and then I have one game that left to talk about. Well, technically 2, and then maybe we could talk about some games that we want to play in the future. But yeah, so Answer the Boys. Ugly Kid Joe Cross. He says, yeah, that ugly kid Joe Cross sure likes being on the podcast. Because that was when in reference to the last What's Playing we've had was when he was on the podcast. All the way back in episode, what'd I say, 89 or something? Anyways, he says, I've been playing Overwatch 2. Awesome. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Decent. As well as the new Marvel Snap on mobile. Amazing. Also practicing up for a Flesh and Blood Pro Quest in January. That was a tongue twister. So I can potentially make the Pro Tour, which would be sweet. That would be very sweet. So you practice up, sir. Quit streaming Overwatch. Quit streaming Call of Duty. Practice. I want to know a professional trading card player. That would be so cool.
It would be.
But yeah, so that leads us to our second Answer the Boys, which, by the way, I just can't do the shooters anymore. Like Overwatch is interesting-ish, because it's kind of like a MOBA shooter.
Yeah.
And that's only just in the fact that your character has abilities and ultimate, but I just can't do the Call of Duties or the Battlefields, the straight up Twitch FPS, like hyper fast reflexes. Like I just can't do that anymore.
No, yeah, I'm the same way. Joe and I used to play a lot of Call of Duty together, and it just fell off of it. Like it just got boring.
Yeah.
I will say that I play majority of the campaigns of the Call of Duty games, but that's about it. I rarely play multiplayer.
Yeah, and then of course Marvel Snap is a card game with a unique twist, I think, in the Marvel universe, which is cool. I don't know if you've seen the commercials with Nick Fury, but I've seen it about 1,000 times, and I'm sick of seeing it.
Yeah.
But Dad the Cap, he says, I've started playing Warframe recently on PC. Very cool game, and thought about trying Marvel Snap on mobile. Well, hey, sir, wouldn't you know, Joe thinks Marvel Snap's pretty amazing. So you should reinstall it and put it right back on your phone and give it another try. And nobody can see, but he's laughing in the background. And that wraps up our Answer the Boys. So thank you guys so much. We always like it when you guys chime in and tell us, what you've been playing, what you've been watching, and all that stuff. We always love your input and we love talking about it. So thank you. So the second to last, I keep saying last, but it's not really second to last game, is a game that's kind of on pause because I had to return it to the library.
It seems to be a common theme for you.
Guys, pro tip, if you're gaming on a budget, check your local libraries. They will most likely have a game section of the various consoles. Our local library here that Chad and I frequent has an Xbox section full of Xbox One games, a PS5 and PS4 section, and a pretty generous Nintendo Switch section. So I like to go. Well, we take our kids to the library. My oldest loves reading, so we go there. In the colder months, not so much in the summer, but in the colder months, like every 2 weeks, just about.
Yeah.
So I'm always looking at the catalog of Switch games. Um, I picked up Octopath Traveler again for like the second time. Um, I tried this originally. My first experience with Octopath was on Game Pass on PC. Thought it was cool. Played it for like 30 minutes, but then never played it again. Um, Not because of the game, but I think because of how I was playing it. I think this is a perfect handheld game.
Right.
Borrowed it from the library the first time, played through it a little bit again, but then kind of like lost interest. Borrowed it a second time, started a new game, and fell in love with it and played a lot. I didn't beat it obviously because it's kind of a long game, but I totally plan on going back, picking it up, maybe buying it if it's cheap enough. But I don't know if this is a game that I'd probably replay again. But yeah, I've really enjoyed it. We love Triangle Strategy, same
Right.
same
Yeah.
team. 2018 RPG here from Square Enix. The gameplay loop, you pick a main character to start with, but eventually you end up recruiting the 7 other characters. So Octopath 8, you got 8 travelers here to play with, but you end up recruiting the other 7 characters along the way and can interchange them and follow their individual story. Each character has their own story that you're going to follow. I think they're each 4 chapters long, so that's 32 chapters if my math checks out there. Um, but it's another party game, so you can have 3, I think. No, you can have 4 people in your party, but you can only follow one story at a time. So,
Gotcha.
and you can interchange as you get to like you can go to a city where like your map will tell you what town progresses what character, and when you get to that town you can change, you can go to the inn and be like, I want to focus on this story or whatever. This game, like, I think when it came out had a lot of hype around it, but then for some reason, like all of the opinions I've seen about it in various Discord servers I'm in, um people say the story just kind of didn't do anything for them.
Yeah.
They
That's what
loved
I
the
hear too.
concept but didn't like the story.
Yeah.
Um, in my time playing it, I think I've completed or have started chapter 2 for each character. And so far, like, I mean, I don't think any of the stories are bad. They're all unique. They all follow the different classes of the character. Each character, of course, is a different class. Then we have the like job system where you can find and add secondary classes to characters as you find that training or blessing in the world, which is pretty cool. But this is another turn-based game. This one's very Final Fantasy like.
Yeah.
You were downplaying random encounters. This game has a lot of them.
Yeah.
Graphically, it's that 2D HD. I love it. It's absolutely gorgeous. Like my favorite graphic style, I think. Especially for these type of games. It's a turn-based, not tactical like Triangle Strategy, but just like an old Final Fantasy game. But yeah, again, the music's really good in this one too. The theme song slaps. Like it gets stuck in my head so easy. The battle music gets stuck in my head so easily.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought the characters were all kind of. I mean, the classes obviously. It's hard to have unique classes. So you see like a hunter, a scholar, which is your mage, and you have like your cleric, which is just a priest, healer, support, and
Yeah.
your warrior. But I think the characters themselves are pretty unique and their stories are all pretty interesting. Obviously, there are going to be some stories that, shine more than others, but out of the 8 stories that I've played and the portions that I have played, while playing those stories, I've been engaged in them and like wanting to progress them. Even with characters that I wouldn't normally like want on my dream team of party, you know? For example, there's one that's a dancer.
Yeah.
Uh, I guess you could say it's like a rogue type character. Not the most fun play style, but like her story was really cool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, I really liked playing her story. I had to play as her, you know, in my party, which, you know, wasn't a huge fan of, but it didn't hurt anything because I mean, you're gonna have to play as the character to progress their story. That would be dumb if you didn't.
Right.
But yeah, I really enjoy this game, and um, you know, they just announced a sequel, Octopath Traveler 2.
Yeah. February. Yeah.
I don't
And it's
know.
got a samurai story in it, I think. So that might be the one that hooks me.
Yes, obviously it's gonna be different characters, different time, all that stuff. Same concept though. Uh, and man, I mean, obviously I loved Triangle Strategy. They're two different games, two different styles, but like
Right.
this is another great game. Like I really like it, and I really am looking forward to getting back in there and finishing it. Um, but yeah, so if you haven't played this game, please check it out. It's awesome. But yeah, can't rate. They just these guys are just pumping out. Like they
They
just put
are.
out that Live Alive game,
Yeah.
which I haven't really played. I started with the demo, but didn't get very far. But it's a similar look, a similar thing of playing different stories like in the same game and different time eras and all that stuff, which is interesting. I'm still waiting for I don't know, oc- Octagon strategy or
Yeah. It's sequel. Yeah.
I don't know,
I'm sure we're gonna get a sequel to that game. I'd
whatever
be
comes
shocked if
after
we did.
triangle, I guess
Yeah.
square
Square
strategy
strategy. Yeah.
numerically. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I love that. My true last game might be a surprise to you. I threw this in as a surprise. Actually don't know if it'll be a surprise to you, but I am currently my off-stream PC game right now is BioShock Remastered.
Oh, nice.
Um,
Nice.
and this is because of Gingy.
Yeah.
100% because
Yeah.
of
His video is great
his
on it. Yeah.
video on the BioShock series. I was like, I got the series for like, I don't know, $3 or $4 on Steam at some point. And then at another point somehow got the remastered versions. Or maybe they were all in the same bundle. I don't know. I don't know why they would all be in the same bundle. That'd be really weird.
Yeah.
The remasters and the originals.
Right.
Somehow I have the remastered versions of 1 and 2, the originals of 1 and 2, and then I forget what 3 was
3.
called,
Yeah.
but I have some.
Infinite or
Yeah, Infinite,
BioShock
that's right.
Infinite.
I tried playing BioShock. I don't remember when. Maybe it was in the last year and a half or so, and I just could not get into it at all. Watched Gingy's video, thought the story was so crazy and super interesting. And I was like, all right, I have these on the computer. I just beat Control, so like I don't want to start the next stream game yet. So let's try BioShock. Turned it on and I am having a blast. Like it's fun. It's very fun. And like the story is crazy.
Yeah.
And I love it. I just beat like the first boss of the first level, so I'm not like super far in. But yeah, I'm just having a blast with it. Did you ever play the BioShock games?
Yeah. So no, I haven't.
Oh,
It's
that's surprising.
yeah. For whatever reason, it's Mass Effect. Well, up until the Legendary Edition, it was Mass Effect, Dead Space, and BioShock that I never played. The glaring misses because I know a lot of people love BioShock. And I know a lot of people like Dead Space and Mass Effect as well, but I do need to play because I've seen BioShock on a lot of YouTubers like top 5 games of all time. So yeah, I definitely need to get around to it.
Yeah, yeah, I would recommend it, especially if you can get the remastered for cheap, which I'm sure
Yeah.
you can.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
It's really interesting. Do you know like the gist of the story? All right.
Not. Yeah. You're like an underwater something, right?
Yeah, you like you're on a plane and you crash in the ocean, but you crash right by a lighthouse. So you swim to the lighthouse and then you go inside the lighthouse, and it's the entrance to an underground civilization called Rapture. And you go down and it's just like, yeah, all crazy. Um
Yeah. $5 on Steam. Nice.
yeah, I wonder, Dad, quick check. Is that the remastered or just the original versions? But yeah, the environment, the world is like so crazy. Just seeing like an entire underwater city, and then you're
Yeah.
like walking around in these tubes, and you can like see that you're on the bottom of the ocean, and like it's like leaking. There's like water coming in, and some of the tubes break as you're walking through them, which just is almost paralyzing because it's like one of my worst
Worst
fears is
fears. Yeah.
like anytime. Okay, so we go to the Outer Banks every year. That's like our family vacation. I hate driving across bridges.
Yeah.
Uh
Because you're scared. Yeah.
my number one fear is somehow driving off or the bridge collapsing and then sinking to the bottom,
To the
like in
bottom.
the
Yeah.
car, right? Or like not being able to see the shore. Like that's one of the things that helps me when we're driving over the bridge to get to the Outer Banks. I'm like, all right, whatever. If we go into the water, like I can at least see the shore.
Right.
So like I definitely wouldn't make it there,
Yeah.
but mentally I
You
can
know it's
see
there.
it. So
Yeah.
like there's hope, right?
Yeah.
But like being out in the middle of the ocean is my worst fear.
Right.
Being in an underwater city on the ocean floor out in the middle of the ocean while like it's collapsing is almost trauma inducing to me. Let alone all the other stuff that's happening in the game. Like
Right.
in the image behind us, you have the Big Daddy, which is like just now. I mean, I've known the like cultural things of BioShock since it's been out, but like knowing what the Big Daddy is prior to playing and knowing to what the Big Daddy is after playing, it's like a whole different thing. Like
Oh yeah, I bet.
you hear or see one of those bad boys while you're running through the Rapture,
Yeah,
like
you're in
that's
bed.
another level of fear.
Yeah. Yeah, you're in for a
um,
bad time, right? Yeah.
yeah, update. It's the remastered version. You can buy. Wow, the collection has 1 and 2 remastered, Minerva's Den, which is a DLC remastered, Infinite, and then Infinite Columbia's Finest, which I'm assuming is Infinite DLC for $12.
Yeah, that's a
You get all
steal,
that.
dude. I wonder again, it's slowly becoming my go-to console. Might be fun to play on the Steam Deck.
Do it, dude. And
Yeah.
well, the thing is, you can't beat the prices you get on
Right.
Steam
Right. Yeah.
and like other PC sale avenues that
Yeah.
you can't necessarily take advantage of on consoles. But yeah, that's my surprise video. But it's again, it's all because of that Gingy channel. Like it's in the description, so go check it out. Here are, along with God of War, 2 other series. I mean, Sekiro, you made me want to play.
Yes,
But
I
then
wish you would.
today I watched Gingy's video explaining the lore and story of Sekiro, and
So
it just
good. Yeah.
put it over the top.
Yeah, dude.
Um,
Yeah.
and then I've also watched his Dark Souls videos. I've played some of 1 and some of 2 back on whatever PlayStation was out at the time. I'd like to probably revisit them at some point, but it's not one I'm like I have on this list. But one that I do have is Bloodborne, and that story video by him was another amazing. I mean, I just can't. I want to talk to this guy. I want to have him on
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, and have you played Bloodborne?
Yeah, I played a little bit of Bloodborne. I didn't beat it. Like I said before, the Sekiro is the pinnacle of that kind of game for me. It's not Dark Souls. I don't like Dark Souls combat.
Mhm.
Bloodborne is a little different from Dark Souls, but it feels very Dark Souls. It doesn't feel anything like
Yeah.
Sekiro. So there's rumors that they're remaking it. So I'd probably just wait at this point because
All right.
there's nothing really drawing
I
me
won't
to
say
it.
anything about the story that is what makes me want to play it then.
Yeah.
But yeah, those two. And then I have one that's not out and it's still in development and it's like super early development, so it may never come to fruition. But this game that I've been seeing float around is called Blight Survival, which is basically a medieval zombie game.
Ooh, interesting.
That has co-op, which automatically makes you totally
Not
disregard
interested.
it.
Yeah.
But it is basically like
Oh, I
Mordhau.
saw
If
that.
you're
Yeah.
familiar with Mordhau, it's
Yeah.
Mordhau plus like Dark Souls plus like The Last of Us,
Yeah, I saw this.
all mashed up into one. It's an action survival roguelite elements. Um, the little teaser demo video that they put together to show off to try to secure funding looks really good. But it's in like pre alpha, so
You're right. Yeah.
it's
Be a
literally
while.
just like a teaser video.
You should totally, you know what you should do? You should totally stealth beat Sekiro and then talk shit about Nick, how he didn't beat it because he made a deal with me that he would beat it, and he has my copy of Sekiro, and he has not. He has
Oh,
not.
nice. That'd
So
be
you should
hilarious.
just slide
Yeah.
in here one day and be like,
By
"Yeah, I beat
like
it."
next time he's on.
Right.
So I got like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Just come back. So like, so yeah, I beat this
Yeah,
game. I don't know if
beat
you heard of
Sekiro.
it. It's called Sekiro. I had this like really handy guide that
Yeah.
was on Showboy's Gaming YouTube channel. Kind of just walked me totally through
Right.
the entire game. Yeah, it's great. But yeah, are there any games that are kind of lingering on your like, I really want to play this soon?
Yeah. It's I mentioned it earlier. I really want to play Cyberpunk. But I do want to play God of War and then Ragnarok. Ragnarok is getting absurdly good reviews. And I never finished God of War. I had a pretty similar experience as Bio where I just like there was a lot of really good shit in it. It just wasn't drawing me in for whatever reason.
Interesting.
So I do need to get back to it because it is like a game that I should, in theory, like. But then I
Yeah.
really want to play. I know that Mr. Robot is waiting in the wings here, so I want to play
Watch
Watch Dogs
Dogs.
Legion, which I never played.
Dude.
So
So looking at my Watch Dogs is Ubisoft, so it wouldn't be in Steam. I have 1 and 2, I think.
yeah,
So whenever Mr. Robot Throwback Thursdays happen,
might be
I
rolling
might
into
have to
those.
join you.
Yeah,
Play some Watch Dogs.
yeah. I really liked the first one. It was not anything remotely close to what they showed at E3, so it was a big letdown as far as that, and it became a poker simulator for me 'cause it's got a really good poker mini game in it. So that's primarily majority of my time in Watch Dogs was playing poker,
Nice.
and, Watch Dogs 2 is really cool, but Legion just has the really cool where you can play as any NPC, you can recruit any NPC and you can play as them, which I just think is a cool concept.
That
So, yeah,
is
it's almost certainly going to be my game when we start Mr. Robot.
nice. Yeah, I haven't played any of them, and I'm interested to play them as I revisit Mr. Robot just to see like if there's any similarities, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't have anything else on my list. We've gone through the Answer the Boys. Do you have anything else in particular that is just burning?
No, nothing.
No. All right. Well, I think that'll probably do it tonight then. So thank you guys for hanging out. Thanks, Dad, for running the show behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely.
We do not have. Oh my gosh, my computer's like freaking out and being like, "Hey, permission." Yeah, so we have the Chosen Companion series currently running right now. Those episodes release on Tuesdays if you like the audio versions, and on Wednesdays, pre-recorded video will release on our YouTube channel. So go check those out. Join our Discord. Check out our Patreon. Subscribe here to Showboys Podcast and Showboys Gaming. Like I said earlier, just finish up my stream of Control. Those videos have landed and will be continuing to land on Showboys Gaming under the Control playlist. And this weekend, I'm hoping to begin our new game we're streaming, which is going to be Lost in Random. As the stream poll winner from like 3 months ago before I got distracted by Control.
Yeah.
We're finally getting there. We're gonna play Lost in Random. It should be fun. We have Dungeons and Dragons coming on Sunday, the 13th here. And if you're listening to this in the future, if you missed the stream, it will be on Showboys Gaming at some point. So go check it out. That's been a lot of fun. The story's really picking up. We left off on quite the cliffhanger last time, and we could all die in this session from the way the room that awaits us was described. I don't know if we're going to make it out. With that being said, we have campaign recaps have been published on the website, and we are current. So if you one, you should go watch the videos. But if you're just like sitting on the edge of your seat, you're like, I need to know right now in less than 16 hours, you can go read the recaps on our website. And tomorrow we have a new fresh piece of lore coming out about a certain scepter that maybe somebody in our party has looted. So really cool backstory. Go check that out. All written by Ugly Kid Joe Cross himself. With that being said, next week I will be joined by Peace Love Ames and Jared from Play Along Podcast to get hyped about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which come out on the 18th. So we're doing a night before. Let's get excited. So you're going to want to turn into that. And then the next Thursday is Thanksgiving. So obviously we're not going to have a podcast there. So yeah, we'll see you guys later. Have a good one. Guys, I just put Thursday Night Football on, and the Panthers uniforms are so sick right now.
What are they, all black ones?
All black with like
Yeah,
that just perfect blue.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, they're
dude,
really cool. They're in Madden.
So fire.
Yeah.